name is Babe Botana. I'm the Executive Director of Southern African Railways Association, and I'll be coordinating the proceedings of today. All of us must be having a bag similar to this one. I don't know whether the colors are all the same. I can't tell you what color it is. I am not very good in colors. It has some 2 or 3 different colors. In that bag you will find a small booklet which is like this one, a small booklet like this one. It has a program in it, and that is the program that we are going to be following today. We'll make 1 or 2 amendments as we proceed. Now that I have your attention, honorable ministers, ladies and gentlemen, invited guests, the speakers for today and tomorrow, and all the dear participants, let me introduce to you the first speaker of today, who is Mr. Stevenson Ngubane. Mr. Stevenson Ngubane will be giving us the opening remarks. Mr. Stevenson Ngubane is the CEO of Swaziland Railway, and he is also the president, the current president of the Southern African Railways Association, which is SARA. Mr. Ngubane, sir.
Thank you, Programs Director, Mr. Botana. Honorable Ministers, board members of the various organizations present here today, chief executives, SARA board members, the vice president of SARA, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is a beautiful day. This is a day that, as the at SARA Rail Conference, we are going to share ideas, exchange information. We are delighted that you are here today to participate, to contribute. We are most delighted to have amongst us honorable ministers. We are also delighted to have board members. We are happy that to have delegates, our distinguished delegates. Out there we also have our exhibitors. I just want to start by saying that the theme for this conference is ports, rail and road collaboration for efficient supply chain logistics in Southern Africa. I think every day we experience, every day we use transport, our own transport, public transport, which is trains and so forth, for our own movement as well as the movement of goods. This is the 6th edition of this conference. We started in 2010. And it has been here in South Africa for five times, including this year. But in 2012, it was hosted by CFM in Mozambique. And we are very grateful that South Africa, through the Ministry of Department of Transport, have always supported and allowed us to be here, to be hosted in this country. And all the logistics have been fantastic over the years. The objective of the conference is to, as I've already said, share the developments that are taking place in the railways, within the railways, amongst the railways, in terms of projects, infrastructure projects, rolling stock investment, so that we increase capacity to be able to serve our customers. That is why this conference also emphasizes the customer perspective, and we have various sessions, we have a session focusing on customers. And we ask them to come forward, make their presentations, to give us the feedback so that we can actually improve our services. We therefore also deal with the integration or the coordination, joint coordination of services, traffic flows from country to country, from railway to railway. We believe that rail transport is key. It has always been key in actually stabilizing transport cost and logistics. And we encourage the rail users to come forward, and we'll also go out to them to discuss their requirements. The theme, as already I've mentioned, includes the ports, it's rail and road. We realize that in the transport and logistics sector, it's not one mode of transport. It is all the modes that provide one package to the rail users. When it comes to the ports, we want to know what is happening, what are their development plans, their investment plans, how are they preparing to receive goods by rail, how are they developing that infrastructure. At the ports, it's important that they have the capacity, they create the capacity in such a way that as the railways bring very long, heavy trains, as we know, they are able to handle those trains efficiently. We will lose a lot if you break up the trains. Take an example, 100-wagon train, then you, at the port, you start breaking it into 4 pieces of 25. Your infrastructure at the port must be such that you are able to handle all the 100 wagons in a continuous movement as you discharge the cargo. So that is very important for our turnaround time, which is the most important performance indicator and utilization of rolling stock in railways. Also at the ports, obviously road access must be there. The ports must provide that road access. At the same time, obviously, we realize that in terms of queuing of ships to berth, they must deal with that as well, because it impacts on the turnaround time. So the ports are they are key, very much so, for all the modes that converge into the ports. And we need the ports to work smarter, work efficiently, and cost effectively. We have a number of ports in Southern Africa. We have ports in Mozambique. I can name a few: Maputo, Beira, Nacala in the north. And also in South Africa, Durban, Richards Bay, Port Elizabeth, Cape Town, and many others. You go to Namibia, Walvis Bay, Lutherits. You go to Angola, you have Lobito, Luanda. And you go to East Africa, Tanzania, you have Dar es Salaam. And also, if I may say, Mombasa in Nairobi. So if you look at the economic bloc, therefore, our ports are very, very critical. And we don't want any congestion in the ports. It's an interest of everyone to know their development plans in terms of capacity, in terms of investing in handling equipment at the ports. Coming to rail, I've already touched on that. Rail, we are looking at, in this region, integration, single timetable for international trains, basically working with other ministries to remove barriers in terms of cross-border working of trains. We know our competition, I'll say so now at this point, that some people somewhere without experience of rail, they think that trains must stop at the border like trucks. there are policymakers who think that way. And we are saying as an association that is going to negatively affect the movement of trains and transit times. Therefore, I think we know here we've got our stakeholders, our principals at policy level from the government, and we say that for railways, normally what you do, you identify the first station into the country, and you designate that as your exit and entry point for trains, not to think of trains to be stopped at border station, just like tracks to be cleared for entry. And we also experience this in terms of the train crews that actually operate these trains across borders. Because as an association, we talk of sharing of resources, we talk of a seamless service, predictable and reliable, so that we reduce the transit time, which is what the customers are looking for to be able to supply to their markets overseas. We also have dry ports, we call them inland clearance depots. For example, there is City Deep in Johannesburg, there's Pretcon, there is Gapcon in Botswana, there is Matapa Dry Port in Swaziland, and many others. Again, all these facilities are created to make sure that we provide a seamless service. So the way to go with all these very important key players in transport and logistics is intermodal operations. We should be able to move cargo without transshipment. That is why the containerization keeps on increasing internationally. And it's a very good concept where a container is sealed and it actually moves as a box, just being handled. The cargo is intact, and therefore that container, if it's a container, must move from road to rail onto ship without any hindrances. This conference, as I conclude my opening remarks, my welcome remarks to you all, it's of value as we see it, and I think as the rich presentations are going to go through, I must say at this point, it has been made possible by those that have sponsored the conference. It has been made possible by yourselves as delegates who paid some fee to be able to be here today and share with us the developments in the rail sector and all the modes I've mentioned. I would like to recognize that our platinum sponsor, which is Transnet Engineering. Can we give them a round of applause, please? Thank you, Transnet. Thank you, Mr. Chiane, as the CE of Transnet Engineering. Even last year, you came forward. Transnet Engineering is a railway supply of equipment and all the engineering that you may require. Thank you very much, Transnet Engineering, for that. We also have a gold sponsor this year. It is Caminos de Ferro de Mozambique. I can help you what it means. It means Mozambique Ports and Railways, and we always call them CFM. Thank you, CFM. We are aware that they've got their board members here and their executive management. They took the gold sponsor, and we appreciate that CFM is a member of SARA and also a founding member of the association way back. We have silver sponsors, Transnet Freight Rail. Thank you, Transnet Freight Rail, for sponsoring. They took the platinum sponsor in 2011, and we appreciate that much. We have Swaziland Railway as a silver sponsor as well. The conference bag that you have and all the certain items inside are sponsored by PRASA, and thank you, PRASA, for coming forward. We also have a sponsor, Think Tank. Think Tank is from our Railway Safety Regulator of South Africa, RSR, whose CE is the Vice President of the association. We have Active Power Projects. We talked about them a lot yesterday, who sponsored the gala dinner for the 20th anniversary. Distinguished guests, honorable ministers, ladies and gentlemen, this is your day. This is the 6th edition of the SARA conference, rich in presentations, and we also look forward to your contribution through comments, through questions, to make it even richer. Therefore, I wish you a fruitful day. Thank you very much. Muito obrigado. Merci, merci beaucoup. Siyabonga kakhulu.
Sibongile kakhulu Baba Ngubane. Thank you very much for those encouraging words. I think Mr. Ngubane, as the president of SARA, has laid a very good foundation. Let me go straight into our first session of the day. The sub-theme is road and rail complementarity or integration. The chairperson of this session is Mr. Remy Makumbe, and if you look at what is written there, it's probably 1/10 of what Remy Makumbe is all about. Remy Makumbe joined the National Railways of Zimbabwe in 1980 as a graduate engineer. He rose through the ranks to the position of Chief Signals and Telecommunication Engineer, as well as officiated as Area Operations Manager, Southern Area. He left NRZ in March 1995 and joined the Southern African Transport and Communication Commission, the technical unit in Maputo, as a railway technical expert for SADC region. He joined the Southern African Railways Association in Harare, Zimbabwe as Executive Director in 1998, a position he held until December 2004. He joined the SADC Secretariat as Director responsible for infrastructure and services in January 2005. He also officiated as the SADC Chief Director for 3 years from 2006. He is also a non-executive director of the African Leadership Institute based in Harare, Zimbabwe. Remy is a holder of a BSc Electrical Engineering honors degree from the University of Rhodesia, now University of Zimbabwe, a Bachelor of Commerce degree in Economics and Transport Economics from the University of South Africa, UNISA, as well as a Master of Policy degree from the University of Fort Hare, South Africa. He has numerous publications in the area of infrastructure and development in general. Let's give him a hand of applause as he moves to take his position. The first topic of the day is rail operational limitations, and this topic will be presented by Mr. Bernard Zawanda. And let me ask the chairperson of this session, Remy Makumbe, to introduce the speaker, because otherwise you will be hearing my voice the whole day.
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to everybody in the house this morning. Director of Ceremony, thanks for the introduction. And I would like to thank you once again for inviting us to this particular conference. And I'm pleased to be associated with the goings on this morning. Allow me at this moment in time to introduce our first speaker, who is Mr. Bernard Zawanda. He is a senior transport economics for the Common Market for East and Southern Africa, that is based in Lusaka, Zambia, whose membership spans from the Mediterranean right down to the Limpopo. Bernard is a senior transport economist at COMESA, as I said. He has over 20 years experience in the transport industry. His portfolio at COMESA covers all modes of transport. Prior to joining COMESA, he was the executive director of the Southern African Railways Association, SARA, for 8 years. In fact, I handed over to Bernard when he came. He was chief planning manager for the National Rails of Zimbabwe for 5 years prior to joining SARA. Bernard has participated in various regional and international conferences on transport, logistics, and development, where also he made a number of presentations, and I'm sure he'll be able to share a lot with us this particular morning. Bernard is the holder of a BSc degree in economics, a master's in economics and a Master of Business Administration degree, among other qualifications. He is also pursuing his PhD studies with Wits University at this moment in time, and researching on investment in transport infrastructure and economic growth with financial support from the African Economic Research Consortium. Allow me at this moment in time to welcome Ms. Abdawanda to the podium. Bernard, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad to be part of this conference this year, and I wish to thank the organizers of the conference for inviting COMESA to participate. I bring to you warm regards from the COMESA Secretary General, His Excellency Mr. Sindiso Ngwenya. He wanted to participate, but due to other commitments at tripartite level, he could not make it. So this presentation I'm making today, this one is mine. I'll present on his behalf tomorrow because he was given also a topic to present on. You heard from from the Director of Ceremonies or from the session chair about my background. In short, I'm a railway person, full stop. I'm in charge of all modes of transport, but my heart is with railways. You know, at times I find myself conflicted when I'm making decisions because I always believe that railways should come first. So I don't know how these topics were allocated, but the one I was given is one that I don't want to talk about. I would have wanted to talk about the advantages of rail because it is the mode of transport that made me what I am today. 20 years as a railway person, you know, there's nothing that can change you. As a graduate learner at the National Railways of Zimbabwe, with one old instructor, he was called Mr. Malemani. I remember what he said to us on the very first day we attended our first lecture on train working regulations. He said, "Welcome folks, this is the railways, not the university. In the railways, you must think between the two lines. Anything else will lead to a derailment." So for some time, that worked. But as time moved, there was need also to adjust. And I'm glad that a lot has taken place over the past 20 years, as was indicated yesterday during the anniversary. So without wasting time, Mr. Chairman, let me just open my presentation here. I'm going to present on railway operational limitations. But before I do that, I will start by maybe indicating the positive attributes of railways. Railways as a mode of transport can actually contribute towards sustainable development. It can actually positively influence the three pillars of sustainability. That is, through the use of railways, you can actually promote economic sustainability, you can promote environmental sustainability, and you can also promote social sustainability. If you look at railways as a mode of transport, you find that it has got so many of these positive attributes which directly impact on the issue of sustainability I was talking about. The railways has got the advantage of being a bulk carrier, and you can actually realize economies of scale. Because of that, we are also able to charge the relatively low or lower rates Railways are also efficient in terms of utilization of fuel. If you were to calculate the fuel consumption per ton kilometer, you will find that railways compared to road consumes about a quarter of what road consumes per ton kilometer. So there are opportunities in using the railways. In terms of the environment, the emissions, in terms of emissions, the railway emissions are about a third of what road, for example, emits. If you look at the land use, the land requirement to build a railway line is less than what would be required for other modes. There's an issue to do with border challenges or border delays. The SARA president actually addressed this issue in his opening remarks. Railways have got this advantage of not having serious border challenges as one may encounter with road. You know, with road in sub-Saharan Africa, there are some border stations where a truck in road, for example, a road truck, can take up to 7 days because of delays at the border. Now for railways, the issue is how the railways organize themselves in terms of the movement of international traffic. Yes, the policymakers have gotten input, but to a greater extent, border issues, interchange issues are influenced by railway operational modalities. If you look at safety record, the railways have got a better safety record compared to road, for example. So if you consider these positive attributes, one will say, what is the impact? The impact, we've got a positive impact on emissions. We contribute less compared to other modes of transport. The worst in the spectrum is air, and the least is inland waterway, railway somewhere in between. But compared to the surface transport modes, railways is more environmentally friendly compared to road. The second impact is on budgets. Remember, I talked about fuel consumption per ton kilometer, which means the more we use rail, the less fuel we use per ton kilometer. So, as countries importing fuel, we can actually save in terms of the overall fuel demand. We can also contribute towards the extension, or how should I put it, an extended life for these finite resources. Because fuel is a finite resource, and if we can achieve, or if we can use a mode of transport that uses less fuel per ton kilometer, it means at least we are elongating the life, or the lifespan of this finite resource. From an environmental point of view and safety point of view, the use of railways promotes or contributes positively towards quality of life. Overall, if we use the railways, we are bound to promote regional competitiveness because of these positive issues or positive contributions from railways. More specifically, the rate itself that the railways charges when you move goods internationally, it means that the transport component of the goods will be low. I'll give you an example. This is an example that has been used world over, but it's within our SADC setup. It's the case of Malawi, where 55% of the cost, the landed cost of a product comes from transport. 55% is transport. Imagine what will happen if Malawi were to use a mode of transport that is far cheaper compared to the current road mode they are using. For now, let me park the issue of advantages because I was tasked to talk about disadvantages. Like I indicated earlier on, my examples will be limited. I won't give you much detail because I feel like it's immoral for me to talk against the railways. So I will at least oblige because I was given this topic. Next time, this is my request to the Executive Director. Give me something that praises the railways. Then I'll do much better. In terms of limitations, the railways are a surface transport mode. In other words, once you talk about crossing the high seas, the railways are not an option. We have cases, yes, where railways have been used across seas, but the cost, the geography, and a number of factors will come into play. So here we're basically saying when you talk of seaborne traffic, both freight and passengers, railways cannot play a role, or may not, because in some cases, we have a case where the railways actually carries traffic, but it's not, they're not using the sea. So my observation is still valid. When you talk about the sea, the railways cannot provide any service for seaborne traffic. We have the issue of ports. The railways can go up to the ports, but the issue of overseas markets then come into play. It means the railways should be part of a multimodal system where you move maybe from road, rail, then sea, back to rail or back to road. So multimodalism, when you talk about the railways, you must always have this idea of multimodalism at the back of your mind. Yes, there are cases where the railways can provide a service from source to destination, but if you are looking at the total or global trade, the component that railways plays is restricted to land. It's a surface transport mode. But we have cases like in Europe, between France and the UK, we have the Eurotunnel. The Eurotunnel is, I think, just above 300 kilometers, but it goes under the sea. The railways goes under the sea. It doesn't use the sea. It goes under the sea because it has got limitations on the sea itself. But for us here, when we talk about this issue of going under the sea, linking two continents, you are bound to talk about international law. We have got certain zones, restricted or economic zones for coastal countries, but beyond that, you have the open seas. So there will be issues to do with the international law to deal with. There will be serious investment issues to consider. So this limitation cannot be changed easily. As railways, we must work around it, because all the limitations, they should have solutions. One wise man once said, if life gives you lemons, don't mourn about the nutches